In this episode, Facebook give us some revealing data on video behavior, YouTube are fighting terrorism, Google Analytics allow you to make searches with your voice, plus Facebook making a modular phone and an AI that can detect recipes from food pics. All that and the Muppet of the Week award right here after this short intro. Hello and welcome to the Week in Digital Marketing News. For this week, the week ending the 22nd of July 2017. Hey, I'm Vince Warnock, otherwise known as Just the Geek, and we are here for AllTheGeek.com, your single source of news for digital marketers, everything from social media to search, AI to technology. Look, if it's relevant to you as a digital marketer, it's likely to be on the site. Plus maybe some irrelevant stuff as well, just to entertain us. Anyway, huge week this week. We had a lot of news to cover, as always. But before we do, I just wanted to read out some feedback from last week's episode. Now, I asked you guys to give me your feedback, see if there was any improvements we could make on the site. And boy, did we get some feedback. First of all, really good suggestions around the length of the video. Some of you are finding it a little bit hard, so I'm trying to trim it down. We'll only cover off some of the main stories. So for all the other stories, you'll want to find those on allthegeek.com. The other suggestion from Ryan, which I thought was awesome, was time-coded sections. So in the description on YouTube now and on the All the Geeks post, you will see time-coded sections for social media, search, etc. to make it easier to find what's relevant for you. Thought that was great. Ashley said I should remove the clock because she's OCD. Her words, not mine. But also we had about 30 different requests for Cole to get his own spin-off show, which is disturbing because Cole's a cat and not a digital marketer. I'm not sure how it's more relevant to you, but I won't take that personally. Let's see, the other one we got here. Oh yeah, here's one. Get off the air, you uncreative. Oh, sorry, it's an email from my mum. Right, and the other one here was an email that said I should do a live on-air giveaway of $1,000 to my son Jarvis. This came from the I'm not Jarvis, I'm just a guy who thinks that would be really useful for your channel at gmail.com. Anyway, let's kick things off. But before we do, got my trusty little post-it notes here. Remember, if there's anything you like in this video, make sure you click on that like button. Make sure you follow us on social media. Tell us your feedback. Tell us what you want to see on the channel. Tell us what you want to see on the website as well. And click on that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Let's kick things off with social media. Okay, we've got a lot happening in social media. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try and keep the runtime of this video down. So we're going to go through this like a whirlwind. First up, the least surprising news story of the day. WhatsApp is being partially blocked in China. Right, apparently some users have mentioned that certain videos, certain text and certain images, etc. are all being blocked by the Chinese government. Now I said this is least surprising. The reason for that is this has also come off the back of WhatsApp announcing that you can now share any file type, even executables, maybe apps that are blocked by certain countries, etc. But you can share those with other WhatsApp users up to 100 meg. Now, obviously, if you're in a country where there's heavy censorship and there's heavy restrictions, that's going to make them a little bit nervous. So, yeah, you end up with weird things like, oh, I don't know, partial blocking. So hopefully this doesn't result in a permanent ban for WhatsApp, but we'll keep you updated on that one. Snapchat. Now, Snapchat in the news, they are taking cybersecurity very seriously. Just not quite how you think they would. Obviously, they take security seriously for the users, but this is Snapchat snapping up. See what I did there? Dad jokes. Snapping up a Swiss-based startup called Strongcodes. Now, Strongcodes is about protecting the IP of your applications and your website. So, essentially, it stops people from reverse engineering the code on your site or reverse engineering the code in your iOS or Android applications. So, interesting move by Snapchat. Now, obviously, we've all kind of commented on the fact that certain features of Snapchat seem to appear on other large social networks. Instagram, perhaps? But I wasn't aware that anyone was actually copying their code base. I'm not suggesting Facebook are. In fact, I doubt that very much. Facebook have a huge team of engineers that can come up with pretty much any solution they want. Oh, and here's the star of the show. Hey Cole, say hi to everyone. Anyway, so, but yeah, obviously there is some issues with people looking into their code or perhaps trying to copy their code, and now they won't be able to. Now, this has come off the back of Snapchat having a bit of a troubling time last Friday. Their shares tumbled from $27 down to $15. Now, obviously, that's going to mean fielding a lot of angry emails and questions from investors. Wouldn't want to be them right now. Next up, look at that. There's a question, a sentence I never thought I'd be saying on one of these videos, but LinkedIn and useful features, all in the same sentence. I swear it's true. So LinkedIn ads have just announced a whole pile of new data tools. The first of which is expanded demographic data. So essentially now when you're advertising on LinkedIn or when you put a post on LinkedIn, you'll be able to analyze the response to that. You'll be able to analyze the analytics. Too many analyzers in there. Anyway, based on things like your standard demographic data, but also job titles, seniority, etc. So you can get very strategic around who you're trying to target on LinkedIn. It's always a good thing. The other two things that they've released is some new metrics, things like additional social actions, etc., but also campaign insights and automated recommendations. So essentially the AI that sits behind LinkedIn will now make proactive suggestions to you on how you can improve your ads and improve your posts. Always a good thing. Good on you, LinkedIn. Next up, a few stories from Facebook. The first couple are things that have been slowly released since around April this year, but they've just announced are now made available to the entire world and every Facebook page. The first of which, you may be surprised to hear, is actually Facebook groups on Facebook pages. So some people seem to have missed this one, but essentially if you're a Facebook page manager or an admin now, you can actually create a group based around that page. So like a sub little community. This is going to be an interesting one, very useful for things like social action groups, for causes or for charities, etc. But it'll be interesting to see how people create groups around or little communities around their page and to see some of the innovative kind of ways that they start to use this feature. So if you've got any experience in this, if this is something that you're looking into or something you start to dabble in, let us know in the comments or contact us on social media. We'd love to hear about it. In fact, you may even end up in one of our videos. There you go. The next is the Facebook page cover photos and videos. You know the Facebook page cover that we have, the little banner at the top that has photos in. Well, you may not be aware, but you can now use video in its place. So I've yet to see too many innovative ways that people are using this, but obviously it's early days. So I'd be keen to hear from you guys, any use cases you've seen out there, any ways or different innovative ways that people are starting to use it. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to keep an eye on that because I think there's going to be some pretty clever stuff come out of it. Next up, this is really interesting. Facebook have announced a whole pile of video behavioral data. So, and off the back of that as well, sorry, I should mention, they've released some research on video trends as well. Not too much surprising in the trends, but the video data itself is interesting. So first of all, daily watch time for Facebook video live. Now, obviously, we've talked about this for a while. Facebook video live, or Facebook Live, is a huge focus for Facebook. It's something they're really putting a lot of energy and effort behind, and something that is actually starting to show some real traction with digital marketers. Some people honestly do swear by it. They get really good engagement from their audience, but more importantly, they get a lot more visibility and a lot more organic visibility as well through using Facebook Live. Now, daily watch time for live videos is up quadruple what it was previously. So 4 times the viewership or daily viewership. I'm struggling with English here, aren't I, Cole? Yes, I am. Anyway, so that's really interesting. The other thing is Instagram videos. Viewership is up 80%, and the amount of videos that are placed on Instagram, obviously risen partially due to Instagram stories, but the amount of videos that are placed on Instagram has quadrupled as well. This is significant. Now, in the research report, the trend report, probably the most interesting piece of that is that 45% of consumers are expecting to consume more video in the next year than they have in the previous. That's varies slightly from the TV viewership, where 33% of them expect to be watching a lot more TV than they did before. So, obviously, online video is starting to prove a little bit more popular than TV. No surprises there. So next up, YouTube. YouTube are fighting terrorists. Now, before you picture YouTube running around like Rambo with giant, machine guns and bullet belts and all this kind of thing, this is crazy. I love this. This is an innovative way to deal with terrorism. So essentially, what they've done is they've used a whole pile of different keyword searches that are related to recruiting for extremist or terrorist organizations. So if you start to search on any of those keyword terms, then instead of actually finding out how to join ISIS and other weird organizations like that, instead you're going to get played a playlist of previously released curated videos that debunk or discredit any of those extremist organizations. This is interesting. Personally, I would have preferred it if they just put puppy videos, because honestly, it's really hard to be angry at the world when you see puppy videos, or cat videos, sorry Cole, cute cat videos. Anyway, good work YouTube. Anything to help fight the growth of these organizations and these extremist groups is a good thing. So that's it for social media for this week. Next up, we're going to take a look at search. Okay, we've got a few stories to cover in search. First of all, Google paid search is up by 23% for Q2 2017 when compared year on year with 2016. None of this is going to be a surprise to too many people. If you've done a lot of work in paid search for the last few years, this is the kind of trend that we're seeing here. So year on year, up 23%. Additionally, the search ad spend is growing. In fact, in Q2, it grew faster than the growth rate in Q1. So as well as year on year seeing a 23% increase, we're also seeing the acceleration of ad spend growing as well. Additionally, clicks are up 18% in Q2 compared to Q1, and CPCs remain relatively flat. So what does that tell us? Nothing terribly new. As I said, it just means we need to be putting more money into Google search and paid search because there's a lot more competition in there and a lot more people using Google. It's all pretty simple, really. Next up, Google Analytics adds voice-based navigation. Now, you would have seen this on AllTheGeek.com. This is really interesting, actually. Essentially, Google Analytics has now added the ability for us to ask it a plain English question. So a good example here is I can go into Analytics and say, how many of our followers or how many of our visitors are using mobile iOS version 10.4.2? And then it can instantly give you the relevant information that you need. So instead of having to drill down in the reports and having to understand where all of this information lies within analytics, you have this overlay of navigation of natural language process, plain English questions. Now, where this is really, really useful, as an example, your CMO can go, instead of having to come to you to ask a question, she can just jump straight into Google Analytics, ask it a plain English question itself, and it'll give her the relevant answers. Which technically means all of us may be out of a job. Wait, this isn't a good thing. What am I saying? No, just kidding. Of course, this is all part of their new AI feature set. Google have been testing things like insights when you log in, and of course now the natural language processor as well. These are all steps in the right direction. Google, again, is impressing me. This is good things. Next up, Google Search Analytics have also added a new filter. Now, this is a really simple one. It's probably more relevant for people that do a lot of work in recruitment, but you can now filter based on job listings or job details. So essentially, it gives you the ability to check the traffic, the clicks, etc., for anyone who's come to your site through job listings. So interesting. Also, now this is a tricky one. So we reported on this as well. The Guardian announced that Google is working on a new homepage design. So essentially similar to their mobile page design where instead of the plain kind of simplistic, clean, single search query bar in the middle, they started putting in a news feed. And you'll see this on your mobile applications for Google as well. So you see a news feed which is curated by an AI, a very advanced AI that actually looks at things like your location data, your search history, anything that you're watching on YouTube, etc. And it looks at relevant information, relevant news stories to you. What's interesting here is a lot of people started reporting that they're getting quite a balanced view. So instead of the Facebook bubble approach where all the news you get, yes, it's kind of relevant to your interests, but only your interests, this gives you the pros and cons. In other words, all those for and against an issue. So as an example, if I'm looking up, as I do, the trailer for Thor Ragnarok over and over again, then I will essentially be getting positive and also negative news stories around Thor Ragnarok. Not that there would be any negative news stories about it, of course, but essentially it will give me that kind of balanced view. Now, the rumours that The Guardian started talking about were this approach that Google's been working on for its mobile application is going to be transferred over to their desktop version. This is interesting and posed a lot of questions. It certainly in our office caused quite a bit of talk around what does this mean for Google search. So essentially, when you come to Google, it is clean, it is simple, it is just one purpose, which is for you to start typing your question or typing a query. If you come to a page and there's news stories there, they essentially pull you out of that search journey. So if you were going in there to find information on, I don't know, the mating process of turtles or something, or mating habits of turtles, then you would have to search that in and you would be shown the organic results as well as, of course, paid search results from organizations that look into that kind of thing. That was a terrible example. Anyway, so that would mean that you're in that search area, you would see paid search and you would see organic search results. But if you're coming to the homepage and you've been searching on that stuff before, now you will see relevant news stories for the mating habits of turtles. Again, this is getting quite disturbing. So you won't necessarily need to search, you won't be served up those ads. So it's an interesting kind of question around what will happen to search and paid search. Certainly as digital marketers, a lot of us rely on paid search and organic search as a key channel for us. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. However, as I said, Guardian reported on this, said this is what is happening, it's what Google's working on. Google have announced that, or they've debunked it basically and said, we're focused on our mobile application at the moment. That is what we're developing for. We have no immediate plans to roll that out on desktop. Now note, it wasn't a categorical no, it was we're not working on that at the moment. So we will be watching that very, very closely. Obviously this is something as digital marketers that affects us very closely. So yeah, watch this space. Next up, that's it for search. Next up, let's take a look at tech. Okay, we've got a few stories for you in tech this week. First up, net neutrality be damned, apparently. Verizon, our friendly neighborhood Verizon, and I say that quite sarcastically after this story, they've admitted to putting 10 megabits per second limits on all video-based applications and sites, or any streaming services, essentially. So if you were watching Netflix, you're watching Amazon, according to Verizon, you wouldn't have seen a degradation of service at all, because according to them, video streaming works perfectly well in 10 megabits per second. But they were doing this as part of their optimization service. So they were looking to optimize how video is served to you. As part of that, they put this 10 megabits per second cap on. A couple of key points here, okay? So first of all, this is in clear breach of Title II, which is the legislation around net neutrality. So that basically says you can't favor one form of content over another, or one form of provider over another, etc. So this is in clear violation to that. So that's our point, Verizon. Yes, optimization is just a tag word for you trying to look at, again, how you can throttle these kind of things. But secondly here is they said that there will be no degradation of service. Users won't notice this as well. But guess what? We found out about this because users were complaining they had a degradation of service. Yeah, nicely played, Verizon. Not. Next up, Amazon, always in the news. Amazon are launching Spark. Now, Spark is essentially a social network, a social media network that is on their iOS application. So if you have the official Amazon shopping iOS application, then there's now the ability for you to have a social network on there, or social media on there. Now, Spark looks really familiar to most users. In fact, almost identical to Instagram, but essentially if you are a Prime user, you can post photos on there of yourself, or what you're wearing, or your desk setup, or anything like that, and you can tag the actual products into that photo so that other users can go on there, they can comment on it, they can click on the links and buy it, or even they can like it. Oh wait, no, not like, smile the content. Anyway, that's their thing. So interesting to see if this takes off. Amazon do a lot of experimentation in areas. Some of those things fly, some of them don't. But at the end of the day, it's good that they're experimenting. Maybe make it look a little less like Instagram. But there you go. Apple, now, this has been far too long coming story. Apple will now allow developers Oh, this is a hard sentence to say. Apple will now allow developers to comment or to reply to people that do reviews on App Store applications. So in other words, if you've got your App Store, your iPhone app in the App Store and people review it, people comment on it, you can now reply to them. Now this is something that developers, you right there, Cole? Developers have been wanting for a while now, in fact since 2013, but essentially Apple have created a thing called the customer support role. So if you're a developer, create the customer support role, make sure you're added to the customer support role, and then you will be able to reply directly to users' reviews. So next up, Facebook are making a modular phone. I say looking quizzically. No, Facebook have filed for a patent for a modular phone. Now, we've seen this kind of thing before. Essentially, it's a phone that can become a Bluetooth speaker, that can become anything. So, in Facebook's words on the patent itself, they said, for a consumer's perspective, the life cycle of conventional consumer electronics is expensive and wasteful. I can't disagree with that. We all agree with that. You buy your $1,000 phone and then the next year you need another $1,000 phone. It is wasteful. However, yeah, so this gives you the ability, if the patent is successful, and if they do actually develop this, obviously you can file a patent and not actually make anything with it, but it'll allow them to create a phone where you can change out the battery, you can change out the front-facing camera, reverse-facing camera, you can change out the screen, you can change out the speakers, etc. It allows you to create custom phones. So, look, it'll be interesting to see if they do it. Again, Facebook, I'm not sure why you're focusing on hardware. This came from as part of a product of the Building 8 division, which is the consumer electronics side of Facebook. Yep, that's a thing. So, yeah, okay, be interesting to see. Obviously, they may partner up with somebody. They may pair up with some other manufacturer to see if they can get these things done. Or they might just be filing it because they thought it was a good idea. I don't know. I'm not Facebook. Anyway, that's it for the tech news. As I said, there are only a few items this week. Next up, it's AI. Okay, we've got a couple of stories in AI this week. A little bit of a light week compared to last. First up, Alexa on your Android phone. Sounds like a dream come true? Well, it has come true. So essentially, everyone's favorite AI, or second favorite, depending on if you're a Google fan, Alexa, which we all know from the Amazon Echo and the Amazon Echo Dot, is now available on your Amazon app on your Android phone. Phew, I got the sentence out. So it can do everything that the standard Alexa can. It's not restricted there, so you can ask it web-based queries. It can probably book you an Uber. In all reality, it probably control the lights in your home. So, but that's available now on your Android phone. I'm not sure if that's unlocked for all countries yet. I haven't even loaded it on my phone yet, but I can tell you, if I'm able to, I definitely will. Next up in AI, this is really interesting. The application of it, not so much, but again, similar to the story last week, it's why they're doing this that makes it interesting. MIT's AI division have created a neural network that identifies recipes from your food photos, your food pics. So what they've done is they've taken 1 million food pics, they've taken 1 million recipes, and they're trying to teach the AI to make connections between these various things. So essentially where it'll head to is the AI can look at a photo of a food when you're at a restaurant, etc., and it can dissect that and tell you what makes up that recipe, or it can find the recipe for it. At the moment, it's kind of theoretical. It is working. It's called, I don't know why I had to look at the paper for this one. It's called Pick to Recipe. Yeah, not really an innovative name, but that's okay. But essentially, as I said, it's kind of theoretical at the moment because it's not really that accurate. It's still learning, but it's a really interesting concept and probably one that's going to make KFC a little bit nervous then. I wonder what those 11 herbs and spices are going to be. So that's it for AI. As I said, light week on AI, but interesting stuff. Next up, Muppet of the Week. Okay, now it's time for All the Geeks Muppet of the Week. And this week's Muppet of the Week goes to, wait for it, drum roll please, the Olive Garden. Yes, everyone's, I was going to say favourite. Anyway, the restaurant chain that we all know of in the US. You get our Muppet of the Week award for possibly the stupidest cease and desist letter we've ever heard of. So essentially, there's a food blog called AllTheGeek.com, and it's a guy's quest, journey, I don't know. It's his documentation of him trying to eat as much pasta from Olive Garden's never-ending pasta pass. So he critiques the pasta, he eats the pasta, he talks about how it makes him feel, etc. Essentially, it's a food review site, okay? He received an email from one of the companies associated with Olive Garden to say he must remove all metadata, all keywords, any visible or hidden reference to Olive Garden because his site is in breach of their trademarks. Now, Olive Garden, you get the Muppet of the Week award because that's not how the internet works. Like, seriously. I'm baffled by this one. It's a food review site. There's certain things called freedom of speech. There's certain things called parodies. All these kind of things. There's many different laws that this is covered under. And certainly sending this kind of cease and desist letter does not do yourself any favors at all. Now, there's some questions around whether this was an automated email that came out. It may have been that they have an AI that looks for any mention of their site. If it sees a certain percentage of mentions of of Olive Garden, then it may send these. But either way, it's a really bad look, and it's deserved of the Muppet of the Week award. Well done, Olive Garden. That's it for Muppet of the Week. Next up is our tech find, and this one is a doozy. Okay, our tech find of the week is something that I actually use quite a lot. It's called Unsplash. Now, you may have heard of this. They've had quite a bit of media over the last couple of years, but I have found a couple of digital marketers that they weren't even aware this was around. So I thought, what a great idea, spread the word. Unsplash.com is essentially a copyright-free, royalty-free website for professional quality photos. Now, essentially, there's 25,000 photographers that contribute to this site, and Unsplash.com have a team of curators that go through all the submissions from photographers and look at the quality and make sure that they only have really high quality photos on the site. And you can use these photos for any commercial use. Now, we use them on AllTheGeek.com. One thing I would recommend is wherever you do use them, make sure you credit the photographer. This is their hard-earned work. These guys are really talented individuals, so make sure you give them the credit where you use their photos. You know what I mean. Anyway, Unsplash.com. If you haven't heard of it, make sure you go there. Make sure you bookmark it. As I said, these photos are free. They're free for your use. Trello have recently done a deal with Unsplash. So now on your Trello boards, and that's a tech find for another week, on your Trello boards you can use Unsplash photos as your backgrounds. Honestly, in the office, it's fantastic. All our Trello boards have unique backgrounds, kind of personalized, and we have quite a bit of fun picking those out. Anyway, Unsplash.com, that's our tech find of the week, and that's our show as well for the week. So thank you all for watching. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you leave us some comments. I really do want to hear your feedback on this. This is about you. This is about making sure we're adding value to you. So I want to hear from you. If you've got any ideas how to improve the channel, any ideas how to improve the website, etc., make sure you get in touch with us. AllTheGeek.com, go to the Connect page, connect with us on social media, make sure you like this video, click on the subscribe button. You all know the drill, guys. I'll see you all next week. Peace.